Hey everybody, it's Kitty. I wanted to welcome you back and I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit more about Marie Laveau today. Now, Gypsy Chique had done a video on Marie Laveau, I guess about a week or so ago. Look at me, I'm rhyming. And I've done a little bit of research on Marie Laveau, and she's one of my favorite historical characters, if you will. So I wanted to kind of continue her video, I guess, with some of the things that I know about her, and in specifics about her ghost. So a few things that I wanted to make mention of about her life was that Gypsy had mentioned how there are conflicting stories as to when she was born, whether it was 1796 or whether it was in the 1800s. And I wanted to just make mention of that specifically because a lot of people get confused Marie Laveau the first and the second, because Marie Laveau, the original, had a daughter who was also named Marie Laveau. So people can tend to get them confused sometimes. And when I say people, I mean like resources online and such. But the original Marie Laveau, the first, was born in the late 1700s sometime. And I'm not sure that we even know the exact year, but that is the right time period. So Marie Laveau was a very spirited and mysterious individual. As Gypsy had mentioned, she was the voodoo queen of New Orleans, and she would openly practice her beliefs and her rites in public. She practiced within the Catholic Church in New Orleans, and she, right there at the altar, actually, and she also held circles at Congo Square in New Orleans. And her circles were rather large, according to historical eyewitness accounts. And they were a mix of men and women of all races in that area. And they began to get rather large, and so on numerous occasions, the policemen and city officials would try to shut down those circles in Congo Square because they felt like they were just getting out of hand, and I'm sure there was some conflicting religious beliefs there as well. But a couple of the eyewitness accounts recall Marie Laveau being able to sort of talk her way out of the trouble, or basically not talk at all and kind of work her magic, and she was able to continue her circles at Congo Square for quite some time. One eyewitness account even mentioned that she sort of had a, I guess, zombifying ability, that the police officers would literally just kind of walk away from it and act like they didn't even know it was going on. So I always found that pretty interesting. So I wanted to add that to the story. Sorry, I'm looking at one of my own articles that I wrote on Marie Laveau. So since her estimated death in the 1860s, there have been multitudes of people that sort of flock to her, what is believed to be her gravesite, and that is actually in the I don't know if you pronounce it St. Louis or St. Louis Cemetery number 1 in New Orleans. That's there's one grave that they believe to be Marie Laveau's, though some people believe it might have actually been her daughter's, so there again with a confusion between the two. But if you were to go there, you will see that the graves in the cemetery are above ground. And if you know anything about New Orleans, you'll know that they're actually below sea level, and so obviously the graves have to be above ground, otherwise the bodies would kind of, I don't know, dissolve or float away, I guess. So, yeah, so she has an above ground grave. I think they're also called mausoleums. And her grave in particular is marked with X's in groups of 3, usually. There's an old legend in New Orleans that if you are to go to her grave and draw 3 X's on it, and leave an offering of some sort, flowers, candy, rum, cigars, something to that effect, that she will come be with you and grant you aid, or sort of grant you wishes, I guess. So that is sort of how her spirit has kind of stuck around. I think a lot of people just believing in her and calling upon her has sort of not developed a ghost, but kind of brought it all together into existence, if that makes sense. So a lot of people have said that they have seen Marie Laveau's ghost wandering the St. Louis Cemetery, number 1. They have, usually they see her closest to her gravesite at night, and basically they believe that she comes back simply to help other people who are in need, which is very close to the same thing that she did in her real life. She really liked to help people. She was very powerful, but she also liked to use her power in order to help individuals who needed it, basically. And I'm just going to read this last part to my article to you guys. So, eyewitnesses claim to have seen her spirit traipsing around the cemetery, very near to her supposed gravesite, which I mentioned. Whether Marie Laveau's ghost still visits New Orleans or not could probably never be proven. However, the power of Marie's magic has lasted for centuries and still lingers in the air in New Orleans today. Visit Marie Laveau's House of Voodoo in New Orleans and get a small taste of what New Orleans voodoo was like centuries ago, when Marie Laveau was still performing rites in Congo Square. And if you guys are interested in learning more about Marie Laveau or her ghost, you can click on the link below. And this is an article that I've written myself. And of course, if you haven't watched Gypsy's video on Marie, go ahead and check that out now. Okay, blessings.